They put them on
All right, it's January 30th. I want to welcome everybody today. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little tidbit of information on this day in history. In 1957, my folks were married. So it's their 61st anniversary today.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Not to me, to them.
To them. Well, to you too.
And less than 1 year later, Mark was entered the world.
Yep. All righty. Meeting, or the minutes from County Board of January 23rd. Does anybody have any corrections or changes or suggestions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any further discussions on the County Board minutes of January 23rd? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Today's agenda, does anybody have anything to add or review?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Burrell.
You didn't have
Hearing no further discussions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The consent agenda.
Go for it. I'm just lining up.
You lining up?
I'm lining up.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any further discussions regarding the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, we're trying to be efficient.
Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. It's 9:02.
There you go.
So maybe we can hear from our illustrious Assistant County Attorney Greg Preiser.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, it's rather odd for me to be first on the agenda, so I'm trying to keep us on time here, but just looking to schedule a public hearing for ordinance amendment number 18-1, which would be establishing a special deputy in the office of the Wright County Sheriff. Staff is proposing March 13th at 9:30.
I'm sorry?
We're proposing March 13th at 9:30.
March 13th? And that's during a regular board meeting?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I will make a motion to schedule that public hearing. March 13th.
At 9:30?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion for March 13th at 9:30 for a public hearing.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hewsome, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any further discussion regarding public hearing on March 13th for the powers of Special Deputy, Chapter 31? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. It's 9:04, so he wasn't as efficient as he thought, so.
Yeah, don't ever let that happen.
Our award-winning Mr. Bob Hevila.
Yes. Good morning, Board. First item on the agenda is we have 3 of our delinquent tax parcels. We talked about, these are properties that did not sell. So we met and we made some changes to, one of them we changed the minimum bid price. But in your packet you should have the list of those 3 parcels and a resolution, but there's a modification to the resolution that we're going to recommend. Board, the modification to the resolution would be under that first bullet point, that all parcels of tax forfeited land contained on the attached list with basic sale price as listed, and then add this, and special conditions of the sale as listed shall be sold at the public sale. we just want to add in that one sentence, and specials conditions of the sale as listed. If you have any questions, Brian's here to address that.
Does anybody have any questions? I do have one. You said you reduced the prices on these lots because they didn't sell at the last auction?
The one that we did lower the prices in Stockholm Township. The other two, I think we kept the prices the same.
Bob, did we meet for a tax forfeit committee for that, or?
They delegated this down to me.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember.
Again, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, I think I did have conversations that, our goal is to get these back on the tax rolls.
Oh, no, I got that, but.
So I'm just curious on why you didn't reduce the price on those other two if they didn't sell the last time?
They're predominantly based on the specials.
Special assessments. Mr. Chair.
Come on, Timmy.
Commissioner Potter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. In the two particular parcels in Monticello, I've had conversations with Administrator O'Neill on these a couple of different times. And one is by the old Rough Auto Parts, that was a certified cleanup site, and the others are by the movie theater, bowling alley and that. And I still don't have a affirmative vote from the council of Monticello to take those because they have special assessments on, that's what these prices are. And it would fit into their EDA plan, and they're trying to get these off they think it would make most sense, but they just need to apply a little bit more pressure on Derek's end, on the mayor and some council members that this is actually smart for Monticello to take because they hold the bonds on these anyway.
I spoke with Jeff as well as some of the council members on it. I just wondering if any of them contacted the auditor's office. Have you heard from the city? No? Okay.
We'll follow up on that.
All right.
Tammy, you had some?
Yeah, just Commissioners, as you can see, that one in Monticello that they were referring to by the movie theater, there is just a little over $305,000 in special assessments, which is why we've got our minimum bid price at $310,000. We could certainly lower that, but what would happen is the city would then just reassess those assessments back on the parcel, and so ultimately they still would have to be paid. So that is an option. Otherwise, obviously, if the city is willing to just forgive those specials, we could lower the price that way as well. And then the other one is over by, I think Commissioner Potter had mentioned the rough property. There's only about $42,000 in specials, but the assessor's office felt that the $99,900 was still a value that was good for a purchase price. So.
No, that 99, that would include the specials or does not?
Yep, so what would happen in that is if it was purchased for $99,900, we would first pay off any, the $42,000 in specials. And then the remaining balance would be distributed between the county and the other taxing authorities.
Okay. All right, so that is inclusive then of everything.
I'm sorry, what's that?
So that is inclusive of all the specials then?
Yes, yeah, we try to get those paid off just so that they don't get reassessed, but.
Okay. All right, just curious on how that'll work.
And Commissioner, I just want to add that property by the RUP, that was only for sale one time, so we figured we'd just add it for sale again.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the public sale of tax forfeit properties on February 28th at 1 o'clock.
Mr. Chair, just as amended, right?
As amended, correct.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome. This being a resolution, I'm assuming roll call vote. Commissioner Burrell?
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimous. So do we need to have the resolution for a public spring auction, or is that included everything? Because you've got agenda, 2 different resolutions listed on here. Adopt tax forfeit sale resolution and resolution public sale spring.
Mr. Chair, I believe the first document is the request for board action. The second is the actual language. Third document, I believe, is the listing of properties.
Okay, so then just that one vote is okay for all of them?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
All right, just making sure. All right.
Board, the second item on the agenda, and I know better, I have Matt here to walk you through what we're proposing to you as the Drainage Authority for action on 33. So here's Matt.
Thanks. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm asking you to approve an engineering survey on County Ditch 33 for the tune of $9,500. It would be performed by Houston Engineering. And if you looked at the packet, it basically breaks down the 3 tasks. One is the document review. I recently found a lot of our ditch maps that we've been looking for. And on this system specifically, there was 14 additional maps. So they would have to review all this, make sure when the new highway was put in that area, that all the tile was kind of rerouted, and they would need to find where the new tile was rerouted to. The second task is the field survey. So they would do some soil borings and such, kind of give us an idea of how to approach a repair. And then the third task is actually coming up with some potential repair alternatives.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt, just to refresh my memory and all these ditch numbers, ditch 33 is located where?
Just east of Monticello.
East of Monticello. Okay, now I'm with you.
Monticello Township.
The township one, right at the edge of Monticello Township,
Yeah.
kind of, okay.
It's north and south on 90, both on north side and south side of 94. Mr. Chair, this scope, just so they're aware that this is just the north side of 33, north side of 94. This isn't the full 33, this survey, it's just doing the north side.
Okay.
It's going to give us, we have some work that we need to look at doing, and this is getting the first step in that process. Is kind of figuring out where some of those closed systems are and figuring out what options we have to mitigate some of the problems.
Yeah, the system itself is like 10.5 miles long, so we're just looking at everything north of the highway to do what we perceive will be an outlet repair in that area, just because there's a lot of housing development in that area, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Barrell.
I just want to make sure that when we do this, we're acting as the ditch authority, not the county board, so. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposal for survey and engineering on County Ditch 33.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Burrell. Questions?
Yeah, I just, the other thing, the rolls, the benefited rolls on this, is it as bad as some of them, or, or?
Probably one of our worst.
So we're gonna end up with just a few people paying for this?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, go ahead, Darren.
So I'm going to help Matt with this one, too. This is kind of an ongoing discussion because we've had in light of some information that there's part of the ditch that is within the possible city storm system because it was petitioned on, and we're working on trying to
This is really
work
messed up.
we're working on trying to figure out who pays for what in this process, so it's kind of up in the air at this point.
Well, Derek, you're gonna have to answer, so I'm following your lead on this.
And I think to have any productive meetings on this issue in the future, we're going to need this information. I know we're planning on meeting with them in the future, so it's pretty imperative.
Yeah, this one also has driveways with no culverts underneath them.
Well, I just know on some of our ditches, though, the rolls have been so unfair that we decided to do a redetermination of benefits before we did any work, and then this might be timely, it needs to get done, whatever, that's fine. It's your call, so.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All the same sign, motion carries unanimous. Mr. O'Reilly. Or Mr. Riley, I'm sorry. It just seems like it should be Irish, but.
St. Patty's Day, he'll be O'Reilly.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, County Board members. The item that is in front of you, a private property owner, a Mr. Bob Marketon, Middlefield Township, Section 21, just north of Howard Lake, is needing to do some work in what's classified as a public water body, also a ditch. The DNR has a permit review on this project along with soil and water. My office is not involved, so I haven't seen or reviewed all the details, but the DNR is turning to the county to get a determination on an environmental assessment worksheet. Greg's here today to speak to it's more of a legality type question, allowing the county board to decide if this is discretionary or not, and then to waive the need for an EAW. Evidently, work was also done to a similar level in 2011, and this is an amended permit from that time.
Oh, go ahead if you want.
And basically, Marketing has been maintaining this ditch, was that my understanding from my reading?
Understanding it has been a functional, maintained ditch for a number of years, if not decades, and work was done in 2011, and he needs to do the project again, or to maybe complete the project from 2011, and the DNR is requiring an amended permit to do that work in the public water body.
Mr.
Go ahead.
And I said, we do have some of these that probably would not be a public water had it not been ditched out years ago. Another example of that is the public water that leaves Lake Emma down in Victor Township. It was trenched out with a dredging machine. Well, now, it's not natural to be there, so then it's filled back in, but it's real difficult to clean out because the DNR calls it a public water now, but I think this is probably a similar thing. But with that, I'll make a motion, we adopt the resolution to find that the environmental assessment is not required for this work.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any further discussions?
I had a question,
Yeah.
what NOD was, N-O-D, but I can't find it in the reading now, but anyone, I thought I read N-O-D as an acronym in here, but
Oh.
maybe it was something else.
So this is a private ditch then?
Correct.
Greg, do you have any concerns at all with us doing this?
No. Mr. Chair, this is not a trout stream, and we're not draining 10 square miles of water. So I don't know why the DNR is putting this guy through this process, but they are. So we're trying to give a final decision here today and get the process moving for him.
Yeah.
Any further discussions? Hearing none, roll call vote. Commissioner Potter?
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimous.
Thank you.
9:15, Virgil Hawkins, Highway Engineer.
Good morning, Chairman Doladin and Board of Commissioners. I have 4 items today to have you consider. The first of which is, it's getting to be that time of year, spring's coming, so we need to approve our annual resolution regarding spring load restrictions, and we've put together our map, and there's a resolution, because some years we end up putting these on as early as the middle of February, but we'll see what the weather does. But that's the first item.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the annual resolution regarding spring load restrictions.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston regarding the road restrictions. Any further discussions?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Virgil, when these go on, we go by what MnDOT goes?
We follow MnDOT's lead.
We follow MnDOT's lead, just so the public remembers, it's not you or me making the call, it's somebody else making the call when it's the appropriate time to do this.
Yeah, and MnDOT monitors through their MnRoad site, and they have areas in the county, they determine when the frost is out and when it's appropriate to put these on.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussions? This is a resolution. Commissioner Potter.
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous. Next item.
Thank you. The next item is to approve MnDOT detour agreement. MnDOT's planning to do some work, mill and overlay and bridge replacement on their Trunk Highway 25. And to do that work, they need to use our County Highway 30 and Highway 13 as a detour route for about 2 months this summer. And this resolution and agreement cover that, and we'd get reimbursed for some road life consumed in the amount of $7,000.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve a MnDOT detour agreement with the use of Highway 30 and 13 as a detour routes.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Potter. Is this a resolution then too?
Yes.
It is, yes.
Commissioner Potter.
Aye.
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 Kind of picking on you down there, Mike.
Yeah, that's fine.
You must have made him angry
Yeah,
this morning.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Virgil, on these resolutions, when we do these detour agreements, are the townships and the cities that are affected that also get a copy of this so they can have it posted at their...
We've requested that MinDOT notify the cities
Okay,
involved.
can we follow up and do it ourselves just to make sure that it doesn't fall through the cracks?
Sure.
I mean, just to let them know so they can post it at their township hall or the city hall to, just as a backup caution for them, you know, just, it's good for people to know this.
Yeah, it's good to keep them informed.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
No, it falls under the trust but verify.
No, okay, next resolution?
Okay, the next one is also a MinDOT project on Highway 55, a full-depth reclamation project from Buffalo to Rockford. And with this project, they are requesting to use County Road 139 as a detour route, and it's also for about a 2-month time period.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the MinDOT detour agreement for MinDOT to use County Road 139 as a detour route.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any further questions, discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Virgil, I just want the public to understand that we got a big bonus on this particular project from doing just the regular mill and overlay to a reclaim, the major upgrade, and I just want people to understand it's going to be a little bit longer detour, a little bit more intense, but they're going to get a much better road out of this when it's said and done, and just people be patient. You're going to like the results because when they did that microsurfacing a couple of years back,
Yeah, that was just a surface treatment on top of what was there.
yeah, it was like painting the road black.
More significant project.
Well, 2 months doesn't seem like it's all that bad.
No.
Really.
No, it
Compared
isn't,
to-
but
compared to some of them.
when people, I know the city of Rockford with their utilities, they're getting their utilities plan if they need to do anything now. But the thing boils down to is, Joe Q Public, we gotta remind them constantly, this is why, because everybody that complains about Highway 55, and I hear it on that one, is that we're doing something about it. And the reclaim and overlay is gonna be a much better road when we're done. It's gonna last longer.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Virgil.
Any further discussions? Resolution, Commissioner Potter.
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous.
Thank you. And the last item to consider here is another resolution to support the I-94 West Corridor expansion, or MinDOT's taking solicitation now for projects for the Corridors of Commerce program, and one of them that we've been supporting all along has been adding a third lane to Highway 94, and this segment would be from 241 in St. Michael up to Highway 19 in Albertville. And so there's a resolution detailing that for support of that project.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to support the resolution for the I-94 corridor expansion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewson. Is there any other discussions? One suggestion I have, I don't know how you're planning on providing this with just one signature. I would suggest that we set it up so that all 5 board members sign it. I think that would show more support than just one signature, having each person sign it.
Sure.
Any other discussions? Hearing none. Commissioner Potter.
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Virgil.
Items for consideration. Mr. Kelly, if you would provide us with the Committee of the Whole minutes?
Will do. The Committee of the Whole met on the 23rd of January. All commissioners were present, including myself. Others present, Osselson, Hausman, Hawkins, Kreiser, Scott Larson, Tagaro, Thingvold, and Tanya West. The first topic was the branding style guide. Coordinator Lee Kelly said the Wright County style guide has been discussed at the leadership team meetings and was received positively. The branding committee is made up of representatives from multiple departments. The guide includes templates for letterheads, memos, logos, color and font specifications, PowerPoint slides, and other county forms. They're templates that allow coordinating or co-branding between county and another entity. So the goal is to create a unified presentation of county documents. I asked the county board to authorize the guide and give direction to departments to implement by a specific date. I suggested that a date would allow individual departments to use up letterhead or other paper stock first, and then move forward with the new branding. Delighted asked whether the branding committee had received any complaints. IT Director Adam Tagaro said some people did not like the new email signature template. The objective is to ensure that anyone who interacts with the county will know that the communication is official. Tagaro said business cards with the new branding are also cheaper. They're ordered online and allow smaller quantities. Kelly said there are options to add another phone number or information on the back of the card. Delighted said he would like staff to talk with local printers to see if they are willing to come closer to the Vistaprint price. Tagaro said the advantage with Vistaprint is that it's a centralized account with one template, creating consistent product and one place to go. Kelly said the request is board approval of the guide and authorization for the administration department and branding committee to oversee implementation of the new standards. He asked for input regarding a deadline for changeover. Delighted suggested 12/31/18. Recommendations: approve the Wright County Style Guide, authorize administration department and branding committee to oversee the implementation of the new standards, and designate a changeover deadline of 12/31/18. Second item we discussed was an Otsego property. Delighted said this is an informational item. The property is located on County Road 36 east of Highway 101 along the Crow River, where the highway department raised the road 3 feet at its highest point several years ago. The river frontage on the property is losing ground. Delighted said Wright County Soil and Water Conservation District has been there to inspect it. The site is not on the county multi-hazard mitigation plan at this time. The current owners claim the problem was caused by the increased water flow that occurred when the road surface was raised. Delighted said Engineer Hawkins and Assistant Highway Engineer Chad Hausman told him yesterday that the previous owner complained about the problem before the road was raised. Delighted displayed some photographs that we reviewed of the site. Hawkins gave some history, said the section of the road would flood 2 to 3 times per year prior to raising the road surface. Often the road would have to be closed due to flooding, which caused problems for emergency vehicles. Hawkins said the flooding was usually 3 feet or less. The road runs between the river and a wetland. He displayed a drawing of how the road surface was raised. A pipe runs under the road between the river and the wetland, and when the river level rises, water is directed to the wetland. Hawkins said the river has flooded 2 or 3 times in the years since the road was raised, requiring closure, but only a small area of the road was affected. Delighted said the Army Corps of Engineers will not address the situation until the project is placed on the county multi-hazard mitigation plan. So therefore, there's not much the city of Otsego can do, or the county. So this item was informational only. Mr. Chair, the minutes and recommendations.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes and the recommendations.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Personnel, Commissioner Houston.
Do you want Derek to do them since I wasn't there?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. I apologize. Can you do it?
Yeah, sorry. I didn't-
No, my fault, I had forgotten.
Okay.
Glasses today.
Exactly. I wasn't expecting to remove, that's okay. Wednesday, January 24th, 2018, members present for the Personnel Committee were myself, filling in for Commissioner Hewsome, Commissioner Dahleiden, Sean Johnson, Virgil Hawkins, and Chad Hausman. The discussion was opening up a position from, hiring a position of a Highway Tech 1 to a Highway Tech 2. Discussion was that they've put out there for Highway Tech 1 and they want to be able to have the ability to hire a Highway Tech 2 if a qualified candidate comes in with those experience. Discussion kind of went around what the market is out there for Highway Tech 1s, and we felt that our Virgil and Chad feel at this time that there's a strong market for Highway Tech 2s, and opening that ability to leave it open to Highway Tech or Highway Tech 2, posting for either or option to come in, so they have the flexibility to hire a more qualified candidate with a lot of experience and be able to put them in at that Highway Tech 2 position versus only being held to that Highway Tech 1, especially because of the constraints of the labor market right now. We also discussed kind of a detailed discussion of kind of what the process is going from a Highway Tech 1 experience to a Highway Tech 2 experience. So we got a little bit of an education on what that is and what criteria they have to make to get to that point to a Highway Tech 2. And it's outside of the education, it's a lot of it's certifications that they have to get, and it's like about a 3-year experience process minimum. So the recommendations was the Personnel Committee recommended to proceed with the recruitment of a Highway Tech 2 position. And I want to clarify, were we going to leave it open as a Highway Tech 1 or 2? Or was it going to be just a 2?
If I remember correctly, it would just be a Tech 2.
Tech 2? Okay.
But, I was gonna say, what, it would make sense, though, I mean, I'm kind of reading through that. They said sometimes they might be able to find a Tech 1 and maybe not only a Tech 2. Well, then we could do a Tech 2, but if a Tech 1 came in, I think I'm gonna leave you that flexibility, Virgil. I'd like to just, I mean.
I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
But I think at that meeting it was talked about this is a Tech 2 because we have a Tech
Virgil?
1 position right now.
You should come up,
Oh.
since there's going to be some discussions here.
You may, I'm just thinking, Mr. Chair, if I might.
Go ahead.
You may run into somebody who's not qualified as a Tech 2.
Yeah, I agree.
Come in and just be really, really sharp, and this person is going places, and you might be real impressed with them, and they might not have the qualifications for a Tech 2, but you might want them.
I agree with you, Commissioner Burrell, and in fact, the job description itself is one job description, highway technician, and it's Tech 1 and Tech 2, and all the duties are the same except there's an addendum at the end to a Tech 2 for a number of years' experience on the job doing certain projects, and then a certain number of certifications they have to have. So ideally, we just could advertise as a highway technician and let applicants apply and commensurate on their experience and qualifications. Could be slotted in either as a Tech 1 or a Tech 2.
I just think it gives you more flexibility.
Well, Virgil, if I remember correctly, you have 2 positions open.
We do.
Along with a few of them, of your current ones that will probably be retiring in the next few years also.
Yes.
So I agree with Commissioner Burrell that since you're looking for more than one person to get it out there, I know you said that there's some issues with finding qualified candidates because the school, they don't have that many candidates available.
Right.
And then the private sector seems to be sucking them up faster because they pay higher.
Correct. And we do have one opening now that's advertised at Tech 1, and that closes tomorrow, so we'll get an idea of how many applications we have for that. If we don't have any, as in the past, a year or so ago, we didn't get any qualified applicants, we had to re-advertise that position. So that could happen again.
And then the other suggestion, I think was talked about, was to post it until filled, so that it could just stay out there and you can interview people as they apply, move it along a little bit faster.
So, Mr. Chair, I will make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendation of posting a Highway Tech 1 or a Tech 2 for fulfillment to the discretion of Virgil Hawkins to how he wants to post it to meet that parameters.
I'll second
to fill the position.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Virgil. Mr. Kelly, adopt AMC mental health bonding resolution. Is this something that you, or was Jamie bringing this one up?
No, this is an item I had put on the agenda. We received correspondence from Association of Minnesota Counties. As you recall from the District 5 meeting, mental health issues in general, but also bonding for facilities was one of the top legislative priorities amongst the counties for 2018. So they had directed staff to send out a draft resolution they would like all 87 counties to adopt this to show our support and that we're serious on addressing this issue. So the resolution is in front of you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was at the board of directors meeting when they did this. This was the top issue for all 87 counties. And when we have our legislative preview coming up, we want to have these resolutions in place so when we have members of the legislators and those present to talk about it, it's strength in numbers, and all 87 counties, we're all facing the same problem there. And it was agreed at that board of directors that we're going to send this out and hopefully have all 87, because if you only have 5 or 6, it doesn't carry much weight, but all 87 would definitely get their attention.
I was listening to the news on the radio, I think it was yesterday. Anyway, Julie Ring from AMC was on, and they were talking about this along with one of the state senators, I think, about their concerns with the issues and how they did have it last year, but it never got resolved or anything, so they're hoping to push a little more. He says it seems like there's more interest in it this year. Again, this resolution, I would like to have all board members sign this one. If you guys don't mind, I just think it shows that there is more support. Jamie, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Yes, I am here.
Come up. Jamie?
You need to come up there.
We want to have the spotlight on you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Board. Yes, I'm
So,
here
Mr.
to...
Kelly, make sure that, she's on camera. We want to make sure
I
that...
like to be, so...
American Idol's waiting.
I am here to support the AMC's request for this, and I think just like what we've been talking about earlier today with roads and ditches and other kinds of infrastructure, this is exactly the kind of infrastructure we also need from our state and counties to support in order to alleviate the crunch and the issues that we're running into right now. One of them being no availability of step-down facilities from when people have a mental health crisis and end up in a hospital. There's just very little opportunity to have them go into a step-down facility from that point, and then we have lots of reoccurrence and things like that. So a huge need, and I'd appreciate it if the board would see fit to pass this resolution.
Commissioner Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Jamie, the other thing is we heard from Sheriff Haggerty a while back that when these mental health crises come on people, sometimes they end up in jail and they don't get the help. And so, they're going to be frequent flyers that not only taxes the sheriff's department, but court services and the judges, everything else. And this is just paramount to get something of this addressed. And they need to figure this one out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have law enforcement, again, if you want to call it the ER department, law enforcement are often the first places that we see some of these things arise. And then, we're called in as Health and Human Services to find placements kind of after the fact, and that's just where we're really struggling. So absolutely, I think our jails, this has been, I think it's more recognized now, but I think it's been a phenomenon that's going on for quite a while. So yes, we hope to work more closely with law enforcement, also with the ER departments. We've been, because, another place where we intersect, and we have recently added, I think in 2016, that adult mental health outreach position that is kind of working with law enforcement and with the hospitals to kind of circumvent some of the issues before we run into the issues. And one of the things that we'll be bringing up with in our Health and Human Services points with the legislators coming up in February is, I believe, just 4 patients that ended up in the Anoka Regional Medical Center in 2017. We ended up spending $35,000 of levy dollars after they no longer met the hospital level of hospital criteria level of care, and it's $1,400 a day at that point unless we can find a place for them to step down into. So, and that's something that all the counties are experiencing. I believe Hennepin County had an $11 million bill just for that, people not being able to leave the hospital because there's not another place that'll take them. So 35,000 is a hit. I don't see that number going down. And again, that was only for 4 people and probably for a fairly limited number of days, probably 20 days.
Wow. 11 million, almost like Hennepin County could build one.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner Potter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Jamie, another point is the, okay, 35,000 for Wright County. Okay, it still hurts, but we have the wherewithal. Some counties, that is a budget killer. For them.
Absolutely.
Some of the smaller counties, because they have a higher percentage having these mental health issues. Some of the ones farther up north are, I mean, this is just one of those budget buster things that they need something, they need some help right now.
It is, and then when you calculate in the number of hours our staff spent looking for places for those individuals to end up in, I mean, that we could be doing other things besides just looking for beds for folks to end up in. So I think there is a budget hit both ways, because how are we staffing when we're using so many resources as trying to find places for people to go after a crisis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Jamie.
Mr. Chair?
In regard to Commissioner Potter's comment that, yeah, this was the top one for all of the counties in Minnesota. I'm sorry, Commissioner Husson.
Back when there was that push to close all the state hospitals because it didn't seem like a humane way to treat people. And so they were closing down the hospitals, and so many of the people ended up on the streets at that point because there was nowhere for them to go. And I talked with one of the guys who was instrumental really in pushing for the legislation to close down the hospitals, and he said it was a mistake. It was a big mistake. And so we've been backpedaling ever since. All these beds disappeared,
Right.
and people were being well taken care of. And it didn't seem like a kind way to take care of them, but it was.
And I think families were really ill-prepared to take folks back in at the time, too. So I think, hindsight always is so clear, but if there had been a more strategic step down versus just close the doors and be what may. And Dr. Lee from the Central Minnesota Mental Health Center could, go on and fill you in on all kinds of things about the repercussions of that, closing those mental health centers or state hospitals.
It was a travesty. So hopefully we can step up now and make these corrections. But
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the AMC mental health bonding resolution.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Husson. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, Commissioner Burrell.
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lee, for bringing it to the board. Scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting to discuss space study.
Mr. Chair, we had a meeting on the 25th to get an update on the status of that project. Bruce Schwartzman from BKV presented a bunch of information, latest updates he had. We also did have Bruce Kimmel from Ehlers come out and present. We have a lot of Bruces on this project. It's fun trying to keep them straight. So we left that meeting with some additional changes to the final report that BKV is working on currently, but we did not have a date scheduled for a follow-up meeting. Hence, it's on today's agenda to schedule something. So looking out into February.
Okay. So how far are you looking, Lee? You thinking like the 12th week or the 19th week?
I was kind of looking the week of the 12th. I'm anticipating that report hopefully yet this week or the early part of next week. However, there is also the ERP workshop that's going on, trying to attend as much of that as possible, so.
Do you want to do it on the 13th after the board meeting, or do you want to go on Monday in the morning before Health and Human Services?
I'd looked at both. Both would work with my schedule. Since you're all here on the 13th, would that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have extension at 4 o'clock, so whatever it takes, if it gets done prior to that,
Okay.
it would be fine.
Do those people have those days available, do you know?
I will verify, but last I talked, it would work.
So February 13th at, what, 10:30? 11?
Let's go for 10:30.
Okay.
Chair, I'll make a motion to set the space study meeting for February 13th at 10:30.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any further discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Committee of the Whole, February 13th at 10:30 a.m. regarding the space study. Committee of the Whole meeting for strategic planning, budget, finance, and capital improvements.
Mr. Chair, this is coming from discussions I've had with Mr. Hevola and some discussions I've had with individual commissioners. We've been putting together a 5-year kind of projection based on the information we know as of today, knowing some of the big projects that the county is going to be undertaking in the next 5 years. Additionally, we've had some discussions about the process for the capital improvement plan. When we met, it seemed like it would make sense to discuss this early in the budget process, get some direction from the board. So we thought we'd schedule a meeting either the latter part of February or March to kind of have a rendezvous before we get heavy into the capital improvement process. And as well, we'd have some additional information about the space study too, so.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, one thing I wanted to talk about with this item right here is because we have so many big expensive items on there, until we can have this committee of the whole and we can kind of talk about, we don't know what the turn back dollars are to fund some of this stuff. Is there any way we can put a hold on the CIP projects? Because we haven't really assigned funding for all of them. Because there a way we can put like a 30-day hold on those until we can, as a collectively as a group, talk about them? Because some of those ones, once in the next 30, 60 days, they'll be committing a substantial amount of money to them that there'll be kind of a no turn back on it.
On some of the CIP stuff?
Some of the CIP projects, because
I thought we had put money.
we didn't budget it, we didn't levy anything for it, so they're
Oh,
all.
but I think there was money set aside for it, otherwise we wouldn't have gotten approved.
Right, it's just verifying the turn back dollars that are coming out of 17 into 18 and moving forward.
That's where the funding sources were the turn back dollars?
We had some, yes.
But we don't know exactly what that is yet, so that's the reason I until we get that number, I hate, because if it wasn't the turnbacks aren't enough to cover what we proved for CIP, we'd be looking to go to reserves to actually pay for those items. I mean, I don't know what the comfortability of the board is, that's the reason I want to have this meeting, but.
What projects would end up getting put on hold?
It could be Coleman Park, it could be some of the paving out at Pleasant Clearwater, there's a lot of them that he'll be going out for bids pretty soon here. And once, I don't know what time Mark from the Parks Department would be sending out.
Well, they can still go for bids, we don't have to accept them. At least that way we'll have a more definitive number on what we're gonna actually have to have.
And that's fine too, I just rather either put a hold if we're not gonna meet till later, or I'd rather meet sooner than later, just so we can kind of talk about it and have an idea what our comfortability is if we don't have enough money in turn back dollars to go into reserves, or how else we'd like to go about funding it, or if we just choose a few items off that list to not do if we can't afford to do it.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering if this is something, when we schedule this might be more than just a one-day type thing, because this might be a little deeper than we say. So we start with one day, and if we can finish it up, that's fine. If not, we'll have to continue to another day, because when you break down all these parts in here, it's a lot, and what we've already committed to putting on the plate is pretty intense, and we need to at least have some kind of game plan here. And it's good to have this early in the process, because this affects budgeting for next year. And I'm trying to get other aspects of things we're looking at doing to improve the county. It's early enough in the budget process so we can have a quick peek at how much all this is going to cost and where do we draw the line on what will be done, what won't be done.
Mr. Chair, I agree. I don't want to dip into reserves for some of these capital improvement projects that aren't pressing, I guess.
Okay. Well, how about, I'd rather not wait then regarding some of this, because as Commissioner Potter says, it may require more than one meeting. How about February 12th in the morning, because we have Health and Human Services in the afternoon. Does that work for everybody?
February 12th in the morning works good for me.
We'll make it work.
Commissioner Burrell?
Right now I'm open, so.
Do you want to do 9, 10, 9, so you have longer, so you can still get lunch in between, or?
10, because after.
I think 10.
10?
10 would be good.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to schedule a committee of the whole to discuss strategic planning, budget, finance, capital improvements for February 12th, which is a Monday at 10 o'clock.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter,
Oh, sorry about that.
second by Commissioner Houston.
And then the drum roll.
And yeah, something, a note from Charlie. Is there any further discussions? Meeting for February 12th, 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Advisory committees. Mr. Burrell, do you have anything? Commissioner Houston?
I guess we didn't have updates last week, so I just would like to mention the Wright Hennepin, or at Wright Hennepin, our economic development meeting with the state demographer was really, really a lot of great information. So Commissioners Vetch and Potter were there too. Did you have anything that you wanted to add on that? And plus all the businesses, I should have brought them with me, but the businesses that were honored for you know, just really being innovative.
What is her name, the state demographer?
Susan Brower.
Susan.
What is it, Lee?
Susan Brower.
Thank you.
Every time she talks, I've seen her 3 times, and she never duplicates herself, and she's so entertaining. It's like you learn something every time she talks. She's really good.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For Commissioner Burrell, she has to tailor it to the crowd she's talking to, because everybody wants to have disseminate a different piece of information, so it's not a one-size-fits-all. And that takes a lot of skill for her to be able to do that and still make it so you can tie them back together at some point in time. So I applaud her. I like listening to her because she is entertaining.
Yeah, she is. But that's it. Me.
Do you have any?
2 weeks ago on, I remember the day, it was January 18th at our 16th we had our WCAT meeting. On January 18th I had our Trailblazer meeting. We kind of got a recap of 2017, completed out the system between Sibley, McLeod, and Wright with about 253,000 rides. Wright County alone, about 118,000. We still have a large number of turn down rides in Wright County at this time. Right now, we're operating 15 buses out of Buffalo, 12 out of Glencoe. 2 of the 15 kind of go both ways, Glencoe, Buffalo areas. Running 26 routes. We easily could have the capacity in Wright County if we had the funding and the buses to hit 200,000. But right now we don't have the means, the equipment, nor the funding at this time. But the numbers of requests are high. We're working really hard to facilitate that. Trailblazer as a whole is still, Buffalo's employment market is good in filling drivers and dispatchers. Glencoe, not so much. We're still struggling heavily on that Glencoe area and finding drivers and dispatchers. So the employment market is much tighter down in that Glencoe market than it is up here in the Buffalo side. But otherwise, from all aspects, we're looking pretty good. We're going to hopefully hold and advocate to the legislators, and I hope my fellow commissioners will as well, is to at least leave rural transit alone. They took a hit previously from the legislator. We'd just like to basically hopefully be able to leave their funding alone and not force them to take another hit in rural transit, so we can at least hopefully maintain our services.
Commissioner Potter, do you have anything else you want to add?
Not to the WCAT discussion. It went well. It was really cordial. I say Kevin Castle is the chair for that committee, and you vice chair. Yep. And it's worked out well so far. It's been
Who's vice chair? Wow. Just get put on there and you just rise to the top right away. I'm impressed.
I forgot I got vice chair on Trailblazer too, so.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
And Mr. Chair, with all due respect for Commissioner Vetch, has been working really hard on this, trying to keep this going.
No, I agree.
And,
I agree. He's done a great
God bless him
job
for that, trying to make the best of the situation there.
No,
and so far, it's all good. The only thing I questioned was with the city of Avondale being the fiscal agent, when that gets transferred to Wright County, and we've got to follow up with that, because even though it's not a lot of bills, not a lot of things, we need to get that transition done quick as possible. The next thing is that same night at WCAT, I had library board. It was a reorganizational meeting. Randy Wincher from, Morrison County is the new chair. And Lisa Foby from Sherburne County is the vice chair. And she's not overly thrilled with me because I kind of pushed her to be, chair or vice chair there. Because, it's good to mix this up a little bit. Before they were having commissioners from small counties being chair, vice chair. I wanted one from a little bit bigger county. I ended up being chair of the personnel committee and on the negotiating committee again. Couldn't really get out of that, but it went fairly well on that. A lot of new players in there because a lot of people termed out. So that's going to be a little different landscape here for a while. The next thing is the last Wednesday was Wright Historical Society meeting, and that was fairly interesting. They had Festival of Trees.
Yes.
They've had that since 2007.
Yep.
And the first year was only like 80 people attended. This last year was 1,800 people attended. They have a little
It's amazing.
They have a little YouTube clip online about the trees and all that, and it's amazing. The year before was only 900, so 1,800. It's been catching on like wildfire there. It's kind of neat when you see that and go on there. We're real excited about the numbers.
Where was this at again?
Excuse me?
Historical Society.
At the Historical Society, right there. They cleared out some of the exhibits of World War II and put the Festival of Trees.
So it was all inside then?
Yes.
I think Human Services had 2 trees, and I think Sheriff's Office had a tree.
Yep.
And some other times
They have the competition, with the sheriff's office and state patrol and Buffalo PD.
Who won?
I don't know.
Obviously it wasn't you guys, huh?
But they really, I should compliment Sally for opening it up on that Sunday, too. So that, I ended up taking some kids on that Sunday, and it was, really gave another, day when people maybe can't make it, and Sunday afternoon was
It was good because it exceeded their wildest expectations.
Oh, yeah.
Because the year before was 900, they thought, okay, this
That's a lot.
maybe peaked, and then all of a sudden doubles.
Yep.
Because the word got out, this is actually a good place to take your kids or whatever and let them see this, because everybody likes to see Christmas lights, no matter what age group you are.
It's a good thing, in the wintertime, chance. And it doesn't cost anything?
No.
No.
But,
It's free to the public.
they're all themed, and just, it might be a tree in the shape of a dress, a wedding dress, and, or some.
Upside down tree.
Yeah, there's upside down, there was a Norwegian upside down tree, and there was just, really cool. It's well worth
Like I said, I
going.
applaud Sally and her staff for
Oh, my.
all the extra work they put in making that happen. And it brings awareness that we have a historical society, and as we get more people move in town, they start seeing the history of it, and they start getting involved, which is a good thing. Their finances look fine over there. They increased changed some of the finance over from regular CDs into investment accounts, which will make themselves, it still has the liquidity, but it was getting themselves a lot more interest, and whatever penalty they have for early withdrawal, they'll still make more money than if they had just in regular CD. So they've been looking at their finance to make sure that they're more self-sufficient as much as they can be. So I applaud them for what they're doing there. And the remodel out there, if anybody hasn't been in there since they remodeled to change that front, it looks a lot better. It's a lot more functional. It flows well.
What are other hours out there? Are they open on Sundays?
Open like Tuesday evening, I know that later, but
I'm
they're
not
not
sure
open on Sunday.
the
No.
exact
No.
hours.
We should just have that information, just get it out to the public. I know it's on the websites and that sort of stuff, but still having an audible sometimes.
And so, see, it's good for that. That was fun. And then last Friday, again, Commissioner Houston talked about and so did Charlie, about the Wright County Economic Development Partnership breakfast, the annual meeting with that, which is good. I had to leave a little early to the AMC Board of Directors, which had the mental health, and then we discussed and dealt with there. They also had a little exercise. You can go on the AMC website about, it's like one of those little Sims video games. you know, you can pick either mayor, council member, commissioner, whatever, and you have your own little city, and people come up asking questions, you gotta direct them to the right department, and it's, you know, an adult kids game, basically, how, the right answer gets you more support, the wrong answer gets you less support. And,
Where is this on?
It should be, you should be able to find it on the AMC website, and I can't remember the exact name of that. It was like a Sims video thing, and you've got your own little city, and somebody has a question, and which department you bring them to.
Huh.
It's kind of, it was a little exercise, it was kind of fun, but that's really not what I do anyway, but
He's a
they had
secret
fun
gamer,
with that.
guys.
Sounds like it.
Yep.
And then yesterday was Transportation Alliance meeting. Again, we talked about it's the 125th year of the Transportation Alliance. It started out as Minnesota Better Roads, and it's now, a couple years later, oldest transportation lobbying firm in the nation. The 125th anniversary. The Transportation Day of the Capitol is March 7th. The fly-in is a little early this year, and I think it has to do with some of the schedules for the legislators and that. May 22nd to 24th. And then we discussed the regional meetings in the fall and trying to get more of the funding statutorily and constitutionally dedicated. And it might be one of those that gets ramped up a little bit over time because everybody's worried about that, what to do. Another thing, they've had a survey that's out that's not about the, you know, voters, what they like for transportation, what they don't like, and they went across different political lines and what people like and don't like. This seems like the most popular one is that the people wanted something that they knew that the politicians down there could not take money and reappropriate it somewhere else. I don't think they've been doing that for a while, but it did happen in the past, and they want to keep that from happening. The other discussion point was the Quarters of Commerce scoring prioritization process. Patrick Wiedemann, I've been to a couple of his programs on this, and they took input all over the state on that program, and Greater Minnesota and Metro each had different concerns. The Metro wanted to change the 50-50 narrative into more like the gas tax split, and that was not done. Overwhelming support from Greater Minnesota, leave that the way it was. Came in that way, designed that way, why change the 11th hour? But one of the things that accommodated the Metro is a little bit more flexibility for the Metro project, because it takes longer for those ones to get cycled through, because the Quarters of Commerce was like less than 4 years, closer to 3 years on getting them implemented. And so the Metro got up to like an 8-year, because if you're coordinating a project A, B, and C, you don't want to block off a whole area because you might need more time. Out here, it's a little easier. You know, like our Highway 55 and 25, it's easier to do detours. When you get in the Metro where it's all concentrated, it's tougher. You can't have like Highway 100, 169, and 494 under construction at the same time. You know, and it makes it more of a challenge for the Metro. So that was, I thought they listened to all the people, and they came up with some pretty solid recommendations on how to deal with this. And this will be for review, anybody there, and looking forward to I-94 getting scored on this prioritization project. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
When is the scoring on that?
That's coming up, they turn in pretty quick, and I think April they'll have the... April they have the answer, because I think through February and March they do the scoring on it.
And that would be for next year or for this year yet?
I don't think the funding comes in until July 1st.
Okay, so probably for next year then, 2019.
Yeah.
All right, just a reminder, on Thursday we are meeting with Soil and Water at 8:30 a.m. The meeting starts out at the Sheriff's Office, so hopefully you'll all be able to make it.
This Thursday.
There's no options for you, Charlie.
Yeah, no, actually, and what time?
8:30.
8:30 with starts.
Well, I
From
can miss,
8:30
I just have a
noon.
Central Minnesota Council on Aging, and I can miss it, I guess, so. Okay.
I know we'll be discussing, the engineer regarding the ditch 10 will be there, so.
Is that till noon?
Yep.
Yeah.
But then lunch, and then you can, I mean, you're welcome to stay afterwards too. They'll have other further discussions.
Yep.
So, all right, nothing more before the board. We are adjourned at 10:04.